just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, yes please, that's kind of you. And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind, and you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they are unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea, and they can't answer the question, do you want tea? Because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea, and they said yes, but in the time it took you to boil the kettle or brew the tea and add the milk, they're now unconscious. You should just put the tea down, make sure the unconscious person is safe, and this is the important part again, don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they are safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it, going, but you wanted tea last week, or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat, going, but you wanted tea last night. If you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you are able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea.
So, I think something that the video said, something that Jessica pointed out earlier, was that constant check-in, right? The video mentioned that maybe they were conscious at one point and then they said yes, and then they passed out. That still doesn't mean that there's like a continual consent. So that kind of like that check-in between the two people at all times, right, would prevent any miscommunication in that part. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that video? No? No? Cool. Okay. So we're going to go into some definitions that our CUNY policy has. So in regards to sexual harassment. So I actually copied this verbatim from our CUNY policy. So unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, including but not limited to unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal, nonverbal, graphic, and electronic communications or physical conduct of a sexual nature. And then it can happen right in two ways, so quid pro quo and providing a hostile environment. Oh, sorry. Does anyone know what quid pro quo is?
Is it like when you do a sexual act for a favor, in terms of a favor?
Yeah, right, and it usually involves as well like a power differential relationship, right? So like a boss to an employee or a professor to a student, right? It usually involves that kind of thing, and it's like, for example, at like a work environment, the boss would say, if you want a raise, you have to do X, Y, Z, right? So that would be kind of that like sexual favor kind of thing. And then hostile environment. So it's an unwelcome conduct that interferes with your academic career and creates an intimidating, hostile, and offensive environment, right? So if you're being sexually harassed within the university by whoever it may be, and that creates that environment that it's hard for you to get work done, it's hard, or you feel scared or intimidated by going to the library, or by going to the computer lab, or even by going to seek help in the Women's Center or the Wellness Center or public safety. If you feel intimidated by trying to do any of those things, that creates a hostile environment, and that's definitely included in this definition. And then also CUNY policy includes that sexual harassment is also violating a person's privacy when it pertains to their body and or sexual acts. So that would include recording images or audio of body part, sexual activity, or nakedness without that person's consent. It would also involve disseminating these images, right? So passing it around. I feel like this happens a lot in middle school and high school. There's a few documentaries on Netflix where students have killed themselves because audio or visual images of themselves doing something were disseminated, right? So CUNY has that as like, that's sexual harassment. That's against the rules. You can't do that. So the student is protected. Also, viewing another person's body or sexual activity when they're in a place that they expect privacy, and you're doing this, you're spying on them basically, right, without their consent. It's like a peeping Tom, right? If you're looking at a person, if you're spying on them, when they have reason to believe that they do have privacy at that moment, it's sexual harassment. Does anyone have any questions? Are we okay? Okay, so we're gonna move on to sexual violence. So it's an umbrella term. So it has 3 components to it that it includes. So it would be sexual activity without affirmative consent, which is like sexual assault, rape, attempted rape, forcible touching, or fondling. It also includes dating, domestic, or intimate partner violence, and it also includes stalking. CUNY policy also explains what stalking is, but for the purposes of this presentation, I'm not going into that definition. You can definitely look it up. Are we okay with that? So gender-based harassment, which is what Jessica was talking about in the beginning of the presentation, is explained in CUNY policy. So I also copied it verbatim from CUNY. It states unwelcome conduct of non-sexual nature. So right, non-sexual. So this kind of moves away from sexual harassment. So non-sexual nature based on an individual's actual or perceived gender. So this includes conduct based on gender identity, gender expression, and non-conformity to gender stereotypes. So can anyone think of an example what might be like gender-based harassment or gender-based?
Somebody who is not a cisgender or is under the transgender umbrella can be associated with that?
So how would, like how, maybe I can rephrase the question differently. Give me an example of how gender-based harassment would look like, or what it would be.
Somebody going into a gender-neutral bathroom and being harassed for that?
Yeah. Definitely. We can also include mocking a person, right? Maybe a gender non-conforming person. If the other person sees that they don't fit into the stereotypical male-female role, right? And during mocking or bullying for that, that's also gender-based harassment. The bathroom was a really good example. Does anyone have any questions about gender-based harassment? Are you okay? So we'll move on into, or Jessica, did you have any?
I can give a little like PSA about some of the resources that the Women's Center for Gender Justice has been working on. We have some all-gender restrooms. If you're not sure where they are, I can give you some more information later. There's one on the 2nd floor of Heron Hall, kind of in that area. There's like a coffee loungy area. We have one kind of in the Women's Center for Gender Justice. There's one on the 2nd floor in this building. And so if you have any questions about those. The other thing that just happened recently that we're super excited about is some of our student activists have been working really, really hard on being able to change your name as a student in CUNY First, so that if you are somebody who is transgender or just identifies by a different name, you are now able to change it in CUNY First, so that when the rosters are generated for the faculty will be given the roster with the name that you identify with. And there's also a process for changing your ID through public safety. So those are just some of the
That's really awesome.
things that are happening now.
That's great. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah. So great information. So we're going to move on to our Bill of Rights as students. So CUNY has something called Student Bill of Rights. It's really long. So what I kind of did was take the key points of what they mentioned and try to sum it up as best as possible. I may have missed a few details, but you can definitely, I do have the links also for all of these documents, so if you want it, I can certainly give that to you and you can read all about it. So our first point would be that if you report, you have the right to report the incident to your university, public safety, NYPD, or you also have the right not to report. So there have been cases in the past where other universities have said, don't go to the cops. We'll deal with it here. The university is not allowed to do that. You have every right to go to your precinct and to file that complaint, right? And to tell them that you were sexually assaulted. You have the right to go to the hospital and have, you know, an exam performed on you so that you can collect that evidence. A university cannot tell you, they do not have the right to tell you that you cannot do that. That's not allowed. You also have the right to receive assistance from your campus when filing a report, even if this includes an order of protection. So your university has to help you, right? It's not an option whether they want to, they have to help you. This also includes to receive counseling and also to be notified of other services that the university reports and also other resources that they report. And you also have the right to receive medical treatment. You also have the right to describe the incident to those people who only need the information. So this is meant to prevent the student of having to repeat the same story over and over and over again, right? So it's only for the people who are trained to deal with these kinds of situations on the campus that you would really have to tell the whole story to. You also have the right to have your complaint investigated in a prompt, impartial, and thorough manner, right? So they can't write that this happened and put it in a file and leave it in the back of their office. That's not allowed. So as I said, those who are investigating should be trained in conducting investigations, right? They can't put a person who's never conducted an investigation in their life, who's never had any training, who's never had any education. That wouldn't be fair to the student who was sexually assaulted. So you also should not, under your rights, be reprimanded if you were influenced by drugs or alcohol, which is also covered in the Enough is Enough law. And you also have the right to participate in the investigation process and the disciplinary process. And Jessica, if you could, I believe that you also have the right to hear, like what happens, like the result, like you can hear their defense. You also have the right to like be there if they're being tried.
Yeah, there are specific guidelines around when and the process for getting notifications about the status of the investigation, and also, like you said, like right to have witnesses be heard and right to have an advisor of your choice there. And those are all outlined in, I think it's Article 15 of the CUNY bylaws.
Yeah, it's also in the Bill of Rights too. They have like the link to the bylaws, and then they also kind of explain a little bit. So it's a lot of text to read, but yeah, it's all in there. Does anyone have any questions about that or comments? Okay. So reporting here on campus, if God forbid anything were to happen. I want to explain that not many students know there are different kinds of employees on campus. So there's confidential, responsible, and everyone else who doesn't fall into those two categories. So confidential employees have an obligation to maintain the complaint confidential. So that means that they don't have to report it to our Title IX coordinator here on campus. So these employees would include counselors or staff members within the counseling center, nurse practitioner, or staff members in the health office, a pastoral counselor, which I don't believe would apply in this case, and then staff members in women's or men's center, which is what is making cost. And then the responsible employees, which there are a lot, and I'll try to mention a few of them that we might be familiar with. So responsible employees, if you do report to them any kind of sexual harassment, sexual assault, they have to report it to the Title IX coordinator, right? They can't keep it to themselves. So obviously that would include the Title IX coordinator, that would include public safety, that would include the vice president of student affairs and the dean of students. It would also include anyone working within a dorm, so it's resident life staff at CUNY. So if they are involved within the housing, they do have to report that. The college president, vice presidents and deans, athletic staff, chairpersons or executive officers on the university, human resources, college attorney, faculty members that are supervising students on off-campus trips, or if they're leading these off-campus trips, right? So study abroad, for example, right, would be included in that. So if something is reported to the faculty or staff member that is leading that trip, they are mandated to report. Employees who are managers, SEEK, College Child Care Center, and directors of educational opportunity centers that are affiliated with CUNY. And all other employees are basically everyone that I did not mention. They are encouraged, but they're not required to report any complaint or any sexual assault. Does anyone have any questions? Jessica, are professors required to report?
So that's a really good question. The answer is, it depends on if the professor is kind of wearing multiple hats. So I always tell students that it's much easier to remember who the confidential people are, rather than trying to remember that really long list.
Like 15 branches and so many people.
Right, of the responsible status employees. And in the case of faculty, there are designations like department chairs are considered responsible status employees, faculty who are leading off-campus trips, or faculty who are advising student clubs are considered responsible status employees. If a faculty member is not wearing any of those other hats, they are in that category of encouraged, but not required. So then it comes down to the individual faculty member.
Good to know. So I also wanted to discuss some resources that we have here at John Jay. Our Title IX coordinator, Sylvia Montalban, our gender-based violence prevention and response advocate, which is Jessica, who works in the Women's Center. Public safety, dean of students, obviously the Wellness Center, and the Women's Center. I believe these are great resources. Wellness Center, Women's Center are free for students. And yeah, I think they'll also have a lot of information, a lot of ways that they will be able to help students who unfortunately find themselves in this situation of any kind. As promised, I do have our clip, and I will be issuing my trigger warning now. The student who's going to be talking, she was, or is, I'm not sure, I watched the documentary some time ago, a student at Harvard, and she was sexually assaulted off campus by another student. I want to say, I don't remember if it was in a dorm or if it was at his apartment, but still it wasn't in the physical Harvard building. But because he went to the same school, she was still, or she should have still been protected under Title IX because it created a hostile environment for her. So she's going to share her experience, not only about the sexual assault, but about how the university did not respond appropriately.
Was during the winter term of master's year. I knew him really well. We'd met a couple of years earlier, the guy, and my girlfriend who was over. We all met at my apartment to have some drinks beforehand, and then we went out to this bar. He continued to buy us both more drinks. Half an hour into it, I noticed my girlfriend seemed wasted. People started to comment on how drunk my friend seemed. Almost instantly after we got into the taxi, I just felt this extremely heavy feeling come over me. she was just